Amrapala is here.
Yep. We got a good group here with us tonight.
So far.
Amrapali, there you are. Hey, I see you there. So nice for you to come all the way from Cookeville, Tennessee. That's quite a distance, isn't it? So nice to have you. So, Amrapali has been to the ISKCON temples in India, especially in Pune, right? Is that correct?
Yes, Pune and Mumbai.
Pune and Mumbai, both beautiful, beautiful temples. I was just talking to a friend of mine about that, and he was expressing how beautiful it was when he went to the Pune temple. And of course, Bombay, Juhu Beach, is one of the nicest places you can imagine. So, very, very good. Well, we're glad to have you with us tonight. What we're going to be doing, and I think I'm recording this, I have no idea. I think I am. Let's see if I am. Uh, hmm. I don't know if I ended up doing it.
It asked if we were okay, so maybe that means you are.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Hey, this is technical stuff. I need Amrapali to help me with this.
Yes, so in on the left side, if you see there is a green color checkbox that is for security and a red button, it shows recording.
Okay, very, very
I
good.
don't know if you see it, but we see it.
Oh, you see it. I see it now. Okay, very, very good. So this is our ninth installment that we've done of the Bhagavad-gītā. So we're on the ninth chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā tonight, and we plan to read through it. So Amrapali, I gave you a Bhagavad-gītā as it is. Do you have that Gita with you tonight?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
go to chapter 9, if you don't mind. And I don't know what page that is for you. Has everybody else got their Gitas handy?
Check.
Good. Because we're going to read through this chapter. There you go. So the ninth chapter, the most confidential knowledge. And so once everybody's got that pulled up, I think what we'll do is maybe we should have a little kirtan and kind of an invocation, if that's okay, while everybody's looking for that chapter. So the most confidential knowledge, chapter 9, Bhagavad-gītā, as it is. So we normally start with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're going to chant that a little bit, and then we'll do a little kirtan with that. There's a little song here. If I can remember it, I'll sing it for you. It's called Monsoon Rain. So we'll do that maybe in a minute too. So sing with me, okay? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Now here's a little song, ready? So this is a story about Krishna as a monsoon rain. Great stories of your fame, your form and holy name. Wash us clean like the rain, like the monsoon rain. Great stories of your fame, your form, your holy name. Wash us clean like the rain, like the monsoon rain. You're like a blackish cloud, pouring grace all around to wash away our sins, make us new again. You're like a blackish cloud, you're pouring grace all around to wash away our sins, make us new again. And so we serve you now, and to your feet we bow. Send your mercy like the rain, like the monsoon rain. So we serve you now, and to your feet we bow. We sing your holy name and send your monsoon rain. Okay, so we'll chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Now you. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Sing with me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Here we go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Haribo. All right. So I don't know if you could hear all that. It's hard to tell what's really going on, but that was fun. All right. So, okay. So this chapter is called The Most Confidential Knowledge, Chapter 9. And right off the bat, the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, explained to Arjuna why he is imparting this knowledge, this most confidential knowledge, the most secret of all secrets, right? So he's giving this information to Arjuna for a reason. Well, what is that reason? Does anybody know what that reason is? Why is Arjuna qualified to receive this knowledge?
I can read it off of the first verse.
Ah, ha, ha, very good. So go ahead and read that first verse if you don't mind.
Because you are never envious of me. The
That's
Supreme Lord said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most secret wisdom, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence.
Hare Krishna. That's pretty sweet. So if we're envious of God, if we go and approach Bhagavad-gītā with an envious nature, we know that Bhagavad-gītā has previously said that everything is created and owned by the Lord. We discussed that previous chapter, and we'll be discussing it further as we go along. So we know that everything belongs to God, but when we take it without acknowledging that God is giving it to us, that is envy, that is lust, that is greed, that's the problems. So what we have, as long as we're acknowledging that it's coming to us from the Supreme Lord, our intelligence, everything that we have to assimilate this great gift of this material world and the spiritual world are from God. And so if we keep that in mind in all that we do every day, then we do not incur sin. Krishna explained that in the previous chapter. That's called Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means to be just conscious of God in all things. And it's not hard to do. And in this chapter, Krishna is going to explain how we can do that. So I'll read this next text. This next text is, this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So this verse is just a tremendous verse in the Bhagavad-gītā. And I think it kind of explains for the lay person or for the advanced person exactly what you could expect to get by studying Bhagavad-gītā. The perfection of religion gives direct perception of the soul, of the self by realization. So, Rangavati Prabhu, there was a story you told me the other day that I thought was a great story. A gentleman asked Prabhupada, he was so busy, said, I may not have time to read the whole thing. Can you tell us that story quickly?
Yes, very, very quickly. My spiritual master, before he was a spiritual master, was distributing books in Corfu, and he came across this admiral in the Navy, and he gave him a Bhagavad-gītā and told him all about Srila Prabhupada, and he invited him to come to Paris because Prabhupada was just about to arrive in Paris. So immediately the admiral said yes, and he packed up his wife and his kids, and they followed my Guru Maharaj's car from Corfu all the way to Paris, and he got to meet Prabhupada. And he said to Prabhupada, he said, I'm really busy, but is there a chapter of Bhagavad-gītā that you recommend I should read every day? Because I haven't got time to read the whole thing. And Prabhupada said, yes, you read chapter 9. And many years later, my Guru Maharaj bumped into him again, and every day he was reading chapter 9.
So chapter 9 alone is sufficient for us because of particularly what Krishna says in this verse. And I'll read the Sanskrit. Anybody else who wants to give it a shot, you're welcome to do it. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavgamam Dharmyam Sushukam Kartam Avyayam. So I'll read it again. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavgamam Dharmyam Sushukam Kartum Avyayam. Anybody else want to try that? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll go.
No?
Either,
All right.
yeah, yeah.
You wanna
Let's
try?
do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Raja Vidya Raja or Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksa Dharmyam Susukam Kartam Avyayam.
Nice. It's nice when we put the music with it too, isn't it? Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitramitam Uttamam Pradyakshavgamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartam Avyayam. There's a lot of really beautiful little melodies that go over these mantras. These are actually all mantras. So Krishna is saying here in this particular Raja Vidya that this is the king of education. The king of education. So we all spend our lives in school, 12 years, 14 years, 16 years, and then we do all types of study afterward. We do continuing education, all kind of stuff like this. And most of our education is dedicated to eating, sleeping better, eating better, sleeping better, mating better, and defending ourselves better. We spend unbelievable amounts of money on weapons to defend ourselves with. So much so that if we just used our military budget in America, that there would be no hungry people on planet Earth. Everybody would probably have a beautiful mansion to live in. So we're just educating ourselves on this external energy of God. But Krishna says here that this Rajaguyam is the king of confidential knowledge. Confidential means the inner workings of our relationship with God and the interactions of how these universes work together, and the knowledge thereof provides us self-realization. He says it's Pavitram, the purest. It's the Uttamam. It's the highest transcendental. And Pratyaksha means by direct experience, we can know this truth. It's like if you eat a meal, you don't need anyone to tell you that you're full. You already know you're full. All right? And if somebody says, no, you're not full, well, you know that that's just not true because you feel that you are full. So in the same way, when we have experience, direct experience, then we avagamam, we understand dharmyam, or the principle of religion. We understand it. And we become susukam. We become very happy to execute this kartum avyayam, this everlasting process, actually, of love and devotion towards the Supreme Personality. So this knowledge is the king of all education, the most secret of all secrets. It's the purest of all knowledge. And because it gives direct perception of the self or the soul or the Atma by realization, it's the perfection of all religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So we've talked about Bhakti Yoga several times. And Bhakti Yoga is not just a process to reach the end. Bhakti Yoga is the end. It's the end of all knowledge and of all seeking after knowledge. And it provides the highest, greatest pleasure to the living entity. So in the purport, I just want to stop on this verse for a minute because Prabhupada loves this verse. There's 2 or 3 verses in here that we'll stop on, and then we'll just keep reading through this. But Prabhupada said in the purport, generally people are not educated in this type of confidential knowledge. You know, the other day I was so blessed to meet Amrapali. And I was really very pleased to meet someone who had a education in their life of this knowledge, of this great tradition and of this history. So in India, you guys are very blessed. You grow up with this. In the West, we have to reach and study for it. We have to find it. If Prabhupada hadn't translated these literatures as they are and brought them to the Western world, none of this would have been possible for us. So we are very, very grateful because we're receiving the greatest and most confidential knowledge, the king of all education. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They're educated only in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people involved. There's so many departments of ordinary education. You go to any school you want to, anywhere you want to, and you'll find politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, whatever you want, you can find, but you can't find a department ordinarily for the science of God, right? You can find a lot of religions. You can find a lot of beliefs. You can find a lot of sectarian ideas. But would you be able to find a complete understanding of the person God giving you the highest of all knowledge, the most confidential knowledge that will give you direct perception of your spiritual soul by realization and bring about happiness that we've been looking for in this world? No. I guarantee you that politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, and all these others will not bring about that happiness. They may put some food on the table, provide the table and some protections, but they will not satisfy the spirit soul. So unfortunately, no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is being instructed. That's why we're doing this on this line tonight, is to talk about the science of the imperishable spiritual soul, which is the most important thing for us to do, because without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. None. Really, if the soul leaves the body, nobody wants to be with the body. The body is disgusting. The body turns back into the elements of the earth. And they all say, well, that person's passed away from here. Well, if they were the body, wouldn't they still be there? So they must not be the body. So what are they? They're the immortal spiritual soul. And so we do not place enough stress on the spirit soul and the education. Instead, we're placing great, pains and efforts on the bodily necessities of life and not even caring for this vital soul. So this is a very important verse right here, because this verse can explain to people, why do you study Bhagavad-gītā? Because it's king of education. It's the most confidential of all knowledge to know God. It's the purest of all knowledge. It gives me direct perception of my soul, and it is performed happily. So when we chant and when we study and when we read together, it's a very happy experience. And because we are enlightened as a result. So Krishna goes on to say that those who are not faithful in the devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. They return to the path of birth and death in the material world. So some people just want a higher birth. They just want more money. They just want a better house. They just want prettier children. They just want a more beautiful wife or husband. They just want to be fearless. They just want to be peaceful. All these things we want in the material world. Are they always happening for you? Raise your hand if you get everything you want. Raise your hand. Nobody? As a matter of fact, Krishna started out with a verse that said, Matra sparsas tikanteya sitosna sukha dukkha da. Sukha, dukkha. Here we're being promised susukam, sukha. Not dukkha. Dukkha is the painful part. We don't want that part. But the material world is, we're going to receive about as much pain as we do suffering, depending on our karma. And we can stay in this material world forever, taking chances simply for sense gratification. But sense gratification is automatically had by all creatures throughout creation. You don't have to go out of your way to get more. Wherever you eat, there's plenty of sense gratification in the food that you have. If you're married, you have children, there's sense gratification in that. Whatever you need, if you offer it back to Krishna, it becomes prasadam, and that is sense gratification, but it's purified sense gratification because it's connected to Krishna. So therefore, we want to remain faithful on the path of devotional service and not return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So that is the purpose of this Bhagavad-gītā, is to direct us out of this wheel of samsara, of birth and death, and back to the spiritual world. So if you don't mind, somebody, I'll tell you what to do, Simon, since you started reading, why don't you pick it up at text 4, and we'll read a few, and I'll stop you when we get somewhere good. It's all good, but.
Text 4. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence! Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, still myself is the very source of creation. As the mighty wind blowing everywhere always rests in ethereal space, know that in the same manner all beings rest in me. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, every material manifestation enters into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create.
There's your answer, Rangavati, from the last thing we had. Continue. Go ahead, son.
The whole cosmic order is under me. By my will it is manifested again and again, and by my will it is annihilated at the end.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, if you want to read one more, and then we'll let somebody else pick it up on 10.
Okay. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached, seated as though neutral.
That's very nice. Thank you, Simon. We appreciate that very, very much. So we had a question here. It says that it's under my will is automatically manifest again and again. And under my will it is annihilated at the end. We were talking about that earlier. So there's all these partial annihilations in the life of Brahma. And then after Brahma finishes his life, there's the complete annihilation and recreation and so forth and so on. Everything is endlessly mutable, Krishna describes, in the material world. The soul is the only thing that is not endlessly mutable. It is not mutable. The soul cannot be withered by the wind, moistened by water, cannot be burned by fire, cannot be cut into pieces, cannot be, it once having been, it can never cease to be, etc. and so on. So what our goal is to find that spark, because the rest of this stuff is a dream. It's a dream. We've had millions of lifetimes, and we've looked everywhere for the ultimate happiness. Obviously, we've not found it just yet. That's why we're still here looking. But somehow or another, the spiritual master has been kind enough that he's brought this information and the key to your permanent spiritual existence with no further need for coming back to this place. We just read in the last chapter, Krishna said, Brahma bhuvanal loka, panar arvartin arjuna. In other words, from Brahma's planet down to the lowest, they're all places of repeated birth and death, miserable places wherein repeated birth and death takes place. So the wise man does not take part in those temporary things that cause this repeated birth and death. So how do you do it? This bhakti yoga process is very simple. Krishna describes it in every chapter, and in this chapter he's going to go on and explain it a little more. But before we do that, I want to read, I'll read 10 and 11, because 11 is a verse that Prabhupada quoted all the time. And on this one too, Madhyakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetunanena konteya jigadviparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again. So Krishna sets this in motion, right? But he is not under that. But foolish men deride him. And what does he say in the next verse? Avajananti mang mudha manusyam tanumashritam param bhavam majandanto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So fools deride me when he descends in his human form. His human form is a transcendental form. They're not knowing his original nature as the Lord of everything that be and the supreme proprietor, the Maha Ishvaram, over all living entities. So Prabhupada quotes that verse quite a bit. Avajananti mang mudha manusyam tanamashritam. So that verse, you may want to make a note that would be a good verse for you guys to practice chanting. Okay? So who wants to pick it up on text 12 and read a little bit? Susan, go ahead.
Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Others who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, diverse in many, and in the universal form. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter, and the fire, and the offering. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur, Vedas. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. O Arjuna, I control heat, the rain, and the drought. I am immortality, and I am also death personified. Both being and non-being are in me.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else want to grab a few? I think there's only 34 in this chapter. I was thinking it was a longer chapter earlier. I don't know why, but it's not. There's only 34 verses, so we've got time for somebody else. Anybody want to grab a little bit of that? Amrapali, Stella, do you want to try? Or Amrapali, you want to try?
It's the 13th one, right? Because I kind of
Yeah, it's text 20.
text 20. Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
I'm gonna skip the Sanskrit because I don't want to take time.
Don't read the Sanskrit, just read the
Okay.
regular English.
Those who study the Vedas and drink the som juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the highest heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Want to read the 21st one?
Yeah, 21st, good, yeah.
When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the result of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeatedly birth and death.
Okay. All right, read the next one if you don't mind, and that'll.
Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my transcendental nature fall down.
Okay. Go ahead, read the other one.
Those who worship the demigods will take birth among demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me.
Thank you so much, Amrapali. That was beautiful. Thank you for that. Yeah, so it's pretty easy here. Krishna's, he's actually simplifying the whole thing. I mean, I think this verse that you just read, text 25, is pretty explanatory. Krishna will give you anything you want. You can go to the heavenly planets, be there with Indra, enjoy unlimited heavenly delights, but you have to come back down again to the material world when your karma is exhausted. You know, there's always, we see in India, there are many different types of religions and different types of activities, such as worship of the ancestors, right? We know about that in India. That's a big thing. And they also do that in other countries like Japan and China and so forth. We even see that in some of our current religions like the Mormons. They worship ancestors, or they offer oblations on behalf of the ancestors to alleviate the ancestors of their karmic retribution. And then the ancestors go back to the spiritual world and they introduce you, right, through the system. So if you go to Vrindavan, India, or anywhere in India, they say to you, hey, Hari Bol, chant God's name, or Jai Radhe, because they know that if you please Radharani, Krishna is going to accept you. There's not going to be a problem, right? Amrapali? You know what I'm saying. So the idea is you can go. If you worship the ghost, you go to the ghost and such beings. If you worship the ancestors, you go to the ancestors. If you worship the demigods, you go to the demigods. But if you worship Krishna, you go to Krishna. Now, Krishna is the source of all manifestations. The Brahma Samhita, it says, what is that wonderful? Ishvara Parama Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. God is Krishna. His name is Krishna. Satchidananda Vigraha. He has an eternal body filled with knowledge, filled with ecstasy, in a form that's relishable, that's very beautiful, right? Because we're all attracted to that. And we see that in other people. There are little sparks of God everywhere. That's why when we see another person, we say namaste, because we recognize your immortal soul, and we recognize that sitting next to your immortal soul is God. He's with you. He's never left you. So when we speak to you, we're actually addressing you and God. So there should be a very reverential transaction and an honorable transaction of nobility and appreciation for the other person that we're meeting there. So any questions about that? So there's a verse here, though, that we did pass over. I was just going to read it real quick. And let me read that. Krishna says in text 22, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate. So what he's saying is when you have no other subject except for me, when your mind is concentrated on me, that's yoga, right? Always, nitya, always thinking about me. Abhiyuktanam, fixed in devotion, right? He will give you protection. Shemam, he'll give you protection. Vahami, if you carry out his instructions as he is giving us, right? So Vahami means to carry. He'll carry what you lack, but you have to carry out the Lord's instructions as they are given in the Bhagavad-gītā. So that's the idea. So Krishna says, those who are always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So Prabhupada really loved that. So our goal in this life is to become unable to live for even a moment without Krishna consciousness, where we can't help but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, by being engaged in devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshiping, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smadanam, Archapadanam, all of that. So we have to learn all these activities so that we remain always thinking of the Lord. And whatever you receive, whatever pleasure that you have, whatever it is that you receive, offer that back to the Lord in sacrifice. And tell the Lord what your appreciation is about that. And that is Bhakti Yoga. So Krishna simplified it there for us. Now the next text I'll read real quick. Text 26. Krishna says in text 26, Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti paritam ashnami pratyatat manaha. So if you offer the Lord patram, a leaf, pushpam, a flower, phalam, a fruit, toyam, water, whoever does that with bhaktya, with devotion, and they offer it prayachati, and they offer that in devotion, he says bhakti uparitam, offered in devotion, he will ashnami, he will accept it. Okay? And you do it with it's prayata atmana, from one who is in pure consciousness. So pure consciousness is what the Lord is looking for. He's looking for someone whose consciousness has been purified by thoughts of Krishna's words, his pastime, just like in that song I sang earlier, great stories of your fame, your form, your holy name. Wash us clean like the rain, like the monsoon rain. You're like a blackish cloud. You're pouring grace all around. We sing your holy names. We dance in your monsoon rains. So that song about chanting Hare Krishna, that's our lifestyle. So Krishna says in text 27, whatever you do, whatever you do. Now, can everybody say that with me? Whatever you do. Whatever you do. I mean, does it get any more simple? Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever austerities you may perform, like fasting or observance of holy days or whatever. He says, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering unto me. So that is the goal of our lives, is to reconnect in loving devotion with God. Because your life is given to you by God. Okay? God is the life of your life. He is the soul of your soul, right? We talk about this over and over and over again. So what are we doing? Love means I just show appreciation for it. What can you say if you sit down and count your blessings every day? You'll think of 1,000 reasons why you can be worshiping God and be very pleased with what is coming your way. Even the bad things that come your way, a lot of times there's a great message in there for us to learn, right? And so therefore we become grateful even of those things because we're being corrected by the Lord. So anybody else like to read text 28? To the end, and somebody else grab that. Stella, you want that?
I can.
Okay.
In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me and this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women,
Vaishyas,
and Sudras, can attain the supreme destination. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotees. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, so to go back over a couple of these last verses, we look at text 27 one more time. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. That is yoga. Okay, that is yoga. And if you can yoke and just see that everything has been created by God, therefore everything belongs to God, and therefore we just remain aware of that. That is what God is asking us to do, is to remain aware of our relationship. Most people here are mindless. They're not thinking about God. They're not appreciating what they've been given in this world. Most people don't know what they're doing here. They don't know who put them here. They don't know why they're here. They don't know where they could go. They don't know what the possibilities are, because the information that's been locked in these ancient Vedas has been hidden away. So most people just have, limited or partial information at best about any kind of relationship with God. If we look at other shastras, they don't know what God looks like. They don't know who God's associates are. They don't know what God's activities are. They don't know what these stars in the skies are filled with. They don't know what the spiritual world is like or what it's there for. They don't know the personalities and the principalities that are behind all of that. And therefore, as a result, they have a hard time loving God. Mainly they're fearing God because they see the results of their karma happening all around them. They see it on the news when they see the results of karma happening, right? So we think that the world is chaos, that it has no meaning. And if you get into the demoniac and divine information that Krishna gives in a later chapter, he says that the demoniac think there is no God. They think the world is just created out of nothing. It's nonsense. It has no purpose. It's chaos. It's meant for your enjoyment. That's all it's meant for. Okay? So what happens is you go down that path, and at the time of death, you leave the body and you meet Krishna. And all of a sudden, now you're confronted with the retribution of your own activities. Think about that. So those activities could be good karma, they could be bad karma, or they could be mixed. But as a bhakti yogi, there is no karma to come back and enjoy yourself, or you go back to the spiritual sky to be with Krishna. I mean, what are we looking for in the material world? The most beautiful, wealthy, wise, famous, powerful associate. Well, that's Krishna. You're not going to get it here. I mean, and some people idolize these people who are so-called rich or famous or wealthy, and their own wealth and their own fame drives them completely insane. They can't even handle it. They become recluse, or they commit suicide, or they can't handle it. So we need to give up our ideas of coming back into this material world and instead take shelter of Krishna. So in text 34, Krishna says, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskaru Mami Vaishyasi Yuktvaivam Atmanam Matparayana. This is a big, big verse. Prabhupada quotes this verse all the time. This is a verse you should commit to memory, each and every one of you. Matmana, always thinking of me. Matmana, always thinking of me. Bhava, become. Mat, my bhakta. Become my devotee. Okay? Become a yaji, my worshiper. Namaskaru, offer obeisances. You will come, Krishna says. If you're yuktva, if you're completely absorbed, you will come. Okay? Make sure that your atma, your atmanam matparayana, is devoted to Krishna. Make sure your soul is devoted to Krishna. Matparayana, atmanam matparayana. Give your soul to God. Abandon all varieties of sectarian religion and partial philosophy and nescience, which is not even science, and surrender to Krishna, surrender to God. Okay? Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So Anadir Govinda. So if you had any doubt who the original person without a second is, he's also known as Govinda. Right? And he manifests into this material world, and he manifests into all planets of the spiritual world as Narayan manifestations. They're unlimited spiritual planets in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is a place where there's no fear, there's no death, there's no suffering. Anything you desire trees, touchstone, everything is there, all to enhance the pleasurable relationship pastimes with you and the Lord. And you do everything out of selflessness. That's called love. So that's the idea behind that. So Krishna says, if you engage your mind always in thinking of him, become his devotee, offer obeisances and worship the Lord that way, becoming completely absorbed, surely you will come to me. So in the purport, Prabhupada said, in this verse it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Okay, so earlier he said when you worship the demigods, ultimately all their benefit, all their power comes from God, from singular God, from one God. So the demigods are in the material world to carry out the transactions in the material world that we're involving ourselves in this material world. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and all of our karma in the three modes of material nature, ignorance, passion, and goodness. We know that. If we read the Bhagavad-gītā, we'll know how they interact. But the point is that we are not here just to live like animals. We're here to know God, to love God, and then we can be transferred at the time of death back home, back to the spiritual world, which is, this place is a kind of like a perverted shadow of the real spiritual world. Here there's death, there's eternal life. Here there's ignorance and darkness, there's light and knowledge. Everything is alive. Everything is serving you in the spiritual world. There's nothing that's unknown to you in the spiritual world. There's no doubts of any kind when you enter the spiritual world. Ananda, what does that mean? Bliss. We're pleasure seekers, and our pleasure can never be happy by taking these temporary senses and applying to a sense object. That's only temporary. And when the sense object is removed from the senses, then the pleasure stops. We don't want the pleasure to stop, people. We want to stay connected to Krishna 24/7. You see what I'm saying? So that's what Prabhupada said. Chant unceasingly now, hallowed be your name, Krishna. So are there any questions about what we just went over? That's a beautiful chapter. This obviously, you can understand that why Prabhupada would say just read the 9th chapter. That should take care of everything for you, pretty much, you know. So were there any questions or any comments or any illuminations or anything anybody wants to add to this meeting tonight?
I had a question, Prabhu.
Okay.
In text 26, when it says Prayata Atmanaha, from one in pure consciousness. So Krishna is saying that he will accept our offerings of flowers, fruits, that sort of thing, if we're in pure consciousness. And then this last verse, 34, pure consciousness, he's explaining, is being completely absorbed in me. Completely absorbed in me.
Right.
Well, what happens for the rest of us who aren't completely absorbed in Krishna, so do not have pure consciousness? Will Krishna still accept our leaf, our flower, our fruit, our water that we offer him?
Excellent question. Well, we offer all of our stuff through the spiritual master because the spiritual master is completely absorbed in Krishna. Okay, so what we do is, because we are not pure devotees, what we do is we offer everything to the Lord through the pure devotee. That's called the sampradaya. That is the parampara system that's so famous in India. You know, the Brahma, Gaudiya, Vaishnava sampradaya is the one that we're in. But there's also Shiva sampradaya, right? So there's different sampradayas. And the thing about it is, we have to be able to know God, we have to have the pure devotee as a transparent via medium to the spiritual sky. The sadhu, the spiritual master, is like opening the window to the kingdom of God and allowing you to look within from this dark material world, right? So that's a transparent via medium. So the Lord and his devotees, they come again and again and again, right? And Yadahi Dharma Shaglanir Bhavati Bharata, they come millennium after millennium, what? To Paritranaya Sadhanam, to reestablish the principles of religion, Duskritam, to kill the demons, and reestablish Dharma in the world. Krishna is coming. He's sending the pure devotees. The pure devotees are repeating what they've learned from the spiritual master. And so when we offer our food to the Lord and we offer everything, we offer it through the spiritual master. So like we were just talking about a minute ago, if you're in India, they walk by, they go, Jai Radhe, because Radhe is considered to be the spiritual master. She introduces you to Krishna. And if she recommends you to Krishna, buddy, you're in. See what I'm saying? So there's no problem. So in the same way, we need to purify our consciousness. We need to practice sadhana bhakti until it becomes raganuga bhakti, which is spontaneous love of God in everything that we see. So this practice that we're doing, just of sitting down together and hearing Bhagavad-gītā, is ancient. Goes back thousands of years, where you can actually hear what God has got to say to you, and you can understand it, digest it in the company of sadhus, and then engage it and make it a part of your life. Krishna's already described this. Manmana bhava madbhakto mam naji namaskaru. Just concentrate on me. Think about me, right? So if you think about what your mind is doing all day long, all it's doing is it's taking all of your experiences and trying to find out how to bring you pleasure. Pretty much that's it. So the mind is running everywhere trying to bring stuff to you. Let me get this for you. Let me get this for you. Maybe if you apply this to your senses, you'll be happy. But never are we happy. Never. We're never happy. At the end of the day, we go to sleep. It's the little death. Everything that you worked for, everything you thought of, it's all gone. Right? We're in a dark state, unconscious state. Right? Right? That's like partial annihilations, just like what we see with Brahma, right? Just like what we see in these universes, partially annihilated, and then again remanifest. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't know who the heck you are at first. You don't even know who you are, right? You may be wonderful, and we may love you dearly, but you don't know who you are when you wake up at first. Have you ever had that experience where you look around and go, where am I? You know, you don't even know. So that's our condition. So we're little jivatmas, infinitesimal sparks of the greater fire of the Paramatma, right? Of the Lord, right? So as little sparks, we have the same quality of God. But we have to reawaken those godly qualities by the practice of sadhana bhakti, which includes coming together like this with you wonderful associates to hear the Vedas, right? That's number one, hear from the mouth of Krishna. Number two, take prasad. Number three, chant and sing the Lord's holy names, right? And number four, associate with the Vaishnavas. And then gradually purify your life until you're absorbed in Krishna. And then what did the last chapter we read, Attaining the Supreme, said that whatever you think of at the time of death, that's what you shall attain without fail. So our goal is to just cram Krishna in just stick Krishna in your ear, whatever you can do, get Krishna in there. Chanakya Pandit is a great philosopher in India. Do you know him? Amrapali, do you know him? Chanakya Pandit? Never heard him? He said, whatever it takes, beg, borrow, steal ghee. Get ghee. Because ghee is the essence of the nutrition of the cow. And through that, we can get subtle brain tissue and understand God. So whatever you need to do, get Krishna. Whatever, just like ghee, whatever you have to do. And by the way, if you're not a perfect devotee right now, chant anyway. If you're backsliding from this stuff, come to the next program anyway. See what I'm saying? Just keep studying, keep chanting, keep associating like this, and gradually the light bulb will come on. Rajavidya will become apparent to you that you will then have achieved the king of education. Rajaguyam, the most confidential understanding of God. And it will become Susukam Kartumavyayam for you. It will become very delicious on your taste. You guys are amazing. I'm very, very happy that you came tonight. It's 8:05. So unless Bhavananda has another question, or if anybody else has a question, we haven't heard much from Bhavananda tonight. That's kind of scary.
I've just politely listened.
Bhavananda's the big bear behind it all, really. All right. So is there anything else, Simon? Any other further question or comment?
Thank you for giving an amazing class.
Oh, well, thank you for being here and adding to this class. That's what we need, each one of you, very much, Thank you for that, Simon. Simon's publishing some nice songs on the Facebook. You ought to befriend him and listen to his music. He's writing really good Krishna conscious words. There's his little thing at the bottom, if you can see that. Just check him out when you get a chance. He's one of the hardest working kirtan men in the business right now. He spent about 6 hours yesterday out in the park chanting Hare Krishna.
And so did Rangavati and Bhavananda.
I know. All right, but you organized, so that's a beautiful thing. So we're very pleased with you and appreciative for what you're doing in town. Amrapali, we couldn't be happier to have you tonight. So nice to see your smiling face, and so inspiring to have met you the other day. Please join us anytime you can. As always, we love our dear Susan Tutino, and she's the goddess. She's got all the knowledge. She got all the information. She's teaching it everywhere she goes, and she's spreading the holy names. So we love you. Estella, thank you for all your wonderful dancing we got to witness recently out at the Sadhu Sangha. That was very beautiful. So again, guys, accept my respects, and I look forward to seeing you again on the 10th canto, or the 10th chapter, 10th chapter, the next time, which is, let's see, the opulence of the Absolute. So I'll look forward to seeing you next Monday night. Okay, anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to sign us off. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hari Hari Bol.